perseverance, resilience, strength is really a good deal of what you're all about. And because of going through all of these horrific things, whether it's the propane explosion or the loss of the parents as they were in hospice, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma as well, while you were writing this book too, you've had a lot of different things thrown at you where, like you said, during the time of the propane explosion, you could have easily said, how much can one person take? Where do you think this inner strength comes from within? A strength that you had in the beginning when you put yourself through school and you were selling vacuum cleaners, flipping pizza, doing whatever you needed to do to get where you needed and wanted to be, to also be able to deal with what could be considered horrific events for anybody to have to deal with, any one of those, but a series of those. Where do you think that inner strength for you as a doctor, as a human, comes from?
Ultimately, it all boils down to my faith in God. And that's really what got me through the fire and everything. At the time I was going through all of those things, there was a time in my life where I was having to collect cans so that I can eat dinner that night. A time where we went and had to buy unmarked cans at the grocery store because those are the cheap ones, and trying to figure out which ones did not have dog food in them, because we came home some nights with looking to eat dog food, and looking back at all these times, which at the time I didn't appreciate it, but now here today I'm actually grateful for those experiences because it again helps me to put myself into the patient's shoes when they're going through tough times as well. And so I think in retrospect, I think it was all for a purpose.
Well, that's what it is, and that's what I know in the book you talk about this, that it is really the purpose. It's your mission, it's your calling, not just having been an engineer and a physician, or well-respected physician, but you could have easily, maybe retired and been on a golf course or gardening or boating on a lake somewhere or traveling the world, but you have this deep inner desire to connect with people, to make their lives better, to help them through with your book, but really with everything else that you do in your life. This is a real continuing passion for you, isn't it?
It certainly is. And I think as I talk in the book too, it's a matter of keeping a positive attitude. Because if you can't keep a positive attitude, it's really hard to get through these tough times. And finding a higher purpose to your life is part of keeping a positive attitude. So, yeah.
With that propane explosion, you talked about there was some points where you said, maybe, this is it for me. How did you survive that? What did you do to get beyond that? Of course, doctors came in and helped you with the process of healing and things of that nature, but you yourself had to really dig deep to be able to help that along, help the doctors along, because if you were giving up, as you know as a doctor, you can do only so much, but if the person is mentally giving up, spiritually giving up, it's going to be hard to try to get them to physically recover. So for you, how did you sort of tap into yourself to get past that?
Well, part of it is not just all about me. And so I relied on my support system. So I had a great family. My sister, who is an RN, was actually visiting at the time, so she was able to help with the wound and dressing changes. My wife is terrific, and she really takes care of everything for me. The kids help keep a smile on my face, and it was interesting. 3 of the kids, they all saw me with my head on fire, and they all had different reactions to it. My one son was worried because it was close to the fire actually melted our window frame and nearly set our house on fire, and so he was worried about we're all going to be homeless and lose our home. My daughter was worried about losing her dad in the fire.
Sure.
and then my youngest son, who I think is going to be an entrepreneur, had the idea he was going to sell tickets to the neighborhood kids so that they could come over and see the burnt man.
You're talking about three polar opposites.
Finding the humor in the situation can really help lift you up. Again, I realize that really all of our earthly problems are finite.